Also, on the subject of Roman penises and embarrassing on-stage moments, the ancient Roman dramatists brought a new meaning to the term stage fright. If the script called for the death of one of the characters, the actor would sometimes be replaced at the last minute with a convicted murderer or rapist who would then be actually killed on stage.
Oh my god.
I've got some examples for you. So the ancient Greeks were a bit more reserved about live murder, but the Romans had no such compulsion for decorum. For example, are you guys familiar with the story of Orpheus?
Nope. Never
He's
heard
a
of him.
mythological figure.
Can't have been that famous. I've never heard of him.
I know Hades Town, but I'm not sure how much relevance and truth is in Hades Town. That is the story of Orpheus.
Well, so basically, Orpheus was a mythical figure who was a master musician who famously lost his wife Eurydice to a snake bite and kind of ventured down to Hades in an effort to retrieve her. Orpheus died in his own way when he was torn to shreds by female naiads for not honouring his previous patron Bacchus, the god of wine. Incidentally, another story has it that a bunch of women who had been spurned by Orpheus due to his liking for exquisite boys threw sticks and stones while he played his music, but the song was so beautiful the sticks and stones refused to hit him, so the women ripped him apart in an orgiastic frenzy. But
orgiastic?
I digress.
I didn't even know that orgiastic was a word.
Wait.
Orgiastic is a word.
What do you mean, exquisite boys?
Well, Orpheus displayed some,
dodgy.
Some inclination towards young lads, but so did many people in ancient Greece and ancient Rome. It wasn't as frowned upon as it is today. It wasn't as much of a taboo, actually.
Wasn't Julius Caesar gay?
Well, sexuality wasn't quite the same in Roman in ancient Greeks and Romans times.
Yeah.
Sexuality was very fluid. People would sleep with men and women. People would dress up as men and women. They would.
It was easier back then, wasn't it?
100%. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I bring up this story of Orpheus is because when the Colosseum was originally built in 80 CE, they used elaborate sets depicting cliffs and woods from under the Colosseum's floor where a bunch of wild animals ran. The irony of the performance was that Orpheus could charm any beast, no matter how savage, what with the beauty of his music. The criminal who was doomed to play Orpheus in the performance unfortunately failed to move the wild bear facing him and was promptly ripped to pieces in front of a live audience.
I'd love to go and watch a Roman play. Because I've seen a lot of Shakespeare. Shakespeare's good. Imagine watching Macbeth with that sort of spoilers.
Yeah.
It's a bit old. At the end of Macbeth.
Spoilers. It's a 500-year-old play.
At the end of Macbeth, where he gets beheaded. Imagine if that was an actual guy, and you just sit there, and then they just rip his head off.
You would run low on actors quite quickly, I think.
Well, no. I mean, you use. Then again, you don't really have death row anymore, do you?
In some places, but I think there has been, even on death row, there has been a shift towards more humane policies and methods of execution, rather than throwing them onto a stage, dressed up in a costume, forced to act out the entire play of Macbeth, and then promptly decapitated in front of everybody, or torn apart by a bear. This guy, Marshall, also mentions a popular play about a bandit called Laureolus, who was crucified. The organisers decided crucifixion was a bit too time-consuming, so once the performers popped on the cross, they'd bring out a bear to speed up the process a bit.
Imagine just getting crucified and nah, take it too long, get the bear.
Bring out the bear. They
bring
did
out
have
the ferrets.
A lot of
the horny ferrets. They're coming.
All of that discussion about Romans. That leads up to our first story this week in Weird, where, by some magical coincidence, an element of these Roman death plays has carried over into a more intimate scenario this week in Alaska. I present to you this headline: Alaska woman using outhouse attacked by bear from below.
Wait a minute, how?
No.
How?
What does that mean, from below? Did it dig up like a mole?
A bear
tunneling
the bear gnashed
had
at her
obviously
bum.
he's obviously made a nest in her outhouse to escape from the cold, and she sat down and was immediately bitten on the rump by a bear.
That sounds like some weird cutscene you'd randomly encounter in Red Dead Redemption 2.
100%.
Like you're just walking through the Grizzlies and you just hear screaming as some dude's getting minced by a bear in his toilet.
It's truly, I mean, out of all things to find in your toilet, the worst thing, I mean, I would say a spider would be the worst, or a snake, right? Those are the worst things.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley.
Oh my god.
Why did you say that?
Because he died on the toilet.
Yeah, I know, but he
but why
wasn't
would he be
sucked
there?
under. He wasn't sucked into the sewage system, and now plagues all of the world as a ghost. The
Imagine
toilet
just going to the
ghost.
toilet, and then there's just Elvis, and he's just like,
He pops up. He pops up like singing Jailhouse Rock, and you're cowering against the wall naked, screaming. Still to come, we identified this week's Florida Man, we discussed the implications of the rise of artificial intelligence, Luke guides us through the Perseverance's historic landing on Mars, and we close out with everyone's favourite true or false game, Factoids. Can you identify the bollocks?
Bollocks.